welcome to Providence. Hopefully you've heard that a few times already. My name is Donovan, and it's my honor and privilege to serve as the Vice President for Mission, Spiritual Care, and Ethics. And here's our mission statement. As people of Providence, we reveal God's love for all, especially the poor and the vulnerable, through our compassionate service. And what I'm going to do is break that down for you just a little bit. So when we talk about people of Providence, we're really talking about three different groups. Okay? First and foremost, we're talking about you. Okay? You signed on the dotted line, you showed up for a new employee orientation, you are now a person of Providence. Okay? That's not something that just magically happens. It's something that you grow into becoming. Our ED director is in the back. Julie's been here for how many years, Julie?
17.
17 years, okay? It doesn't happen moment one. It's something that happens over a period of time. So, but we're talking about those of you who serve me. Somebody asked me yesterday, do you have to be Catholic to work here? You do not. We have a very short pool to choose from. Nor do you have to be Christian. What we do expect is that you have some sense that working here is in the service of something that's bigger than you. In the service of the sacred as you understand that. And that's going to be different for each of you. Part of our job is to connect the dots between what's most important to you and your heart, and how does that connect to our overall mission. Okay? So first and foremost, as people of Providence, we're talking about us. Okay? So 156 years from now, they'll still be up on the wall. And Keith, you've got a chance to be up there too. And where's Sarah Ann? Sarah, you just got back just in time.
I did.
All right, perfect timing. So, what would it be like to think about, I'm such a person of Providence, I am so important to this mission, that my face is on the wall. Are we going to be a ministry? Are we going to embody that in a way that feels different than the hospital down the street? Or are we just going to be a hospital with a cross on top? How do we do that? We reveal God's love for those with really good insurance plans. No? No. We reveal God's love for all. Every single person that we serve, whether that's one another, our patients, families, community members, etc. We reveal God's love for all. What that means is that how we do things is as important as what we do. Let me give you a quick example. Who starts IVs in this room? All right. What's your name?
Lisa.
Lisa, are you good at starting IVs?
Yes.
First time, every time?
No.
I'm sorry, are you good at starting IVs? First time, every time? Why not? I thought you were good.
Well, because there are difficulties every time.
Really? Do our patients know that? They absolutely don't, do they? So one of the things is you might be great at your job, the technical aspects of it. We also have to excel at the people aspects of it, at helping people understand the work that we're about. The best person I ever saw do this at a hospital I used to work at, they would be really good. They'd say, oh, Lisa's coming to do your IV. She's the best. She can get an IV done by the third time, every time. Okay? You know what happens when she gets it on the second stick? You know what the patient's honestly thinking? Thank God I had Lisa. She's amazing. All right? So here's what I want you to do. We break this down, right down to when we do evaluations, into our values. Respect, compassion, justice, excellence, and stewardship. It's not just getting the IV and it's doing it with respect and compassion. It's both and. It's also excellence when we do it right. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to break you down into groups. So you guys are going to be respect, these two tables. You guys are going to be compassion. You guys are going to be justice. You guys are going to be excellence. And you guys are going to be stewardship. Okay? You're going to have a power meeting of 4.25 minutes. Okay, you ready? Okay, introduce yourself first, and I want you to talk about these three questions. When you say someone acts with this value, What does that mean in concrete terms? Is there somebody in your life who's embodied this value? And how can you personally, in your job, make this value come alive? Okay, all right. Carl Rogers had one of the best descriptions of compassion I've ever heard. He said, compassion is the art of being with someone as if their pain and suffering was your own, without losing the as-if quality. So it's thinking, what would it be like if it was my mother? What would it be like if it was my son? And then remembering it's not. So if I come around and you're crying with the family, you've lost that clinical distance that you need to take care of them. So it's how do I get in touch with what they're feeling without falling into the hole of what they're feeling. Does that make sense? All right, anything else on compassion?
Equality.
Yeah. Okay, and I bet that comes up with justice somewhere.
Sure does.
Yes, perfect. All right, justice beyond what they expect. So let me steal an example. So Fred Lee is, some of you may have read his book. He wrote a book called If Disney Ran Your Hospital. Okay, how many nurses are in the room? Okay, so Fred ran Florida Hospital, which services Walt Disney World. It is the only hospital in the history of American healthcare that had a 6-month waiting list for nurses. So, Sarah, what kind of nursing do you predominantly do? Okay, let's say med-surg. So let's accelerate Sarah a few years. And Sarah calls Florida Hospital and says, hi, my name's Sarah Hogan. I'm an RN with 15 years experience in med-surg. And they would say, great, that sounds just like what we're looking for. At this point in time, we have a 6-month waiting list. May we call you back in 6 months? Have any of you ever experienced that as a nurse?
No.
No. Do you have your license? Is it current? Right?
Well,
You know, is at least the beginning of the conversation, hopefully not the end. Okay? They did that by holding the bar so high that no one wanted to leave. No one wanted to work anywhere else. They said, I worked at Florida Hospital. That's kind of what we want to have here. We want people to say, person of providence. And that speaks of a level of excellence and quality and compassion that's second to none. Okay, so Fred, when he retired as CEO, really believed that Walt Disney World had something to teach healthcare. And his kind of catchphrase was that we are an experience industry. Okay? Right? We want them to take quality for granted. That's the underneath piece. But that compassion is the visible piece. All right, so Fred basically founded a company to work with Walt Disney World, and every week he brought in 12 executives from around the country and had them Disney teach them about the experience industry. Excuse me. Thank you again. So the very first day, it's given the grand tour. Okay, so I need a mom who has 4 to 5 year old. Looking. Give me a mom, 4 to 5 year old. All right. Is it Rochelle?
Yes.
Okay, Rochelle. What's your child's name?
Dylan.
I'm sorry?
Dylan.
Dylan. And I presume a boy?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you guys to imagine that Rochelle, as is customary for Walt Disney World. Now, those of you who have been in Disneyland in California, where I just came from, doesn't hold a candle to Walt Disney World in terms of service. Okay, so Walt Disney World. She's walking in with Dylan. She has saved 3 years without a vacation in order to spend 1 week at Walt Disney World. Okay? It's a very expensive week. Okay? She's walking in the door with Dylan, and strategically placed about 15 feet inside their door is an ice cream stand. And of course, it's 9:30 in the morning, but Dylan wants it, and she doesn't care. She just paid $106 for a ticket. So this sounds like a good deal. And she gives Dylan the ticket, or excuse me, the ice cream cone, and he's just as happy as can be. And he takes a big lick, and where's it go? Straight to the ground. Okay? And if my slides are in order, they are, Dylan has to look something like this. Okay? It's what I call the pre-meltdown look. This is my son. It's the, you need to fix this very fast or I'm going to melt down. Now what Rochelle's thinking right now is, I was really only counting on 6 hours here, because that's about as long as we could go without a nap. We're going to have to break that up. If he melts down over this, it's going to cost me at least 2. Is that honestly, that's what moms and dads are thinking at this point. In comes the housekeeper. And the housekeeper kneels down and goes, wow, what an awesome splat. I've been looking all day for the big splat of the day winner. What's your name? Dylan. Dylan, you're the winner. Dylan turns around to Rochelle and goes, Mom, I won. I won. And Rochelle goes, oh my God, this is Walt Disney World. This is like the best place on earth. Okay? And the housekeeper grabs Dylan's hand, starts to walk away. Mom's still in shock, grabs Mom's hand, comes back. Make way for the big splat of the day winner. Okay? Now, every Disney employee is given $100 a day, authorized to spend $100 a day on what they call pre-recovery. Fix it before it explodes. Fix it before they write a letter. Fix it before it escalates out of control. Get it now. Get the one in front of you. So here's the good news. That, speaking on behalf of the senior leadership team, is our expectation for you. Fix the one that's right in front of you. Bad news, no money. But honestly, you don't need it. So I'm going to tell you a quick story, because I think, again, I'm trying to get to the heart of what excellence is. I came from another Providence hospital where I spent 3 years giving this talk.
Which one?
Holy Cross. Which, are you coming from another Providence hospital?
Torrance.
Torrance, okay, terrific. Welcome. Totally lost my train of thought there.
Sorry.
That's okay. Is Sarah?
Yeah.
Got it, okay. Ooh.
You keep saying you're having from California.
Yeah, yeah. So I gave the same talk, new employee orientation, every other week for 3 years. Right before I left, somebody came up to me and they had been written up for being late coming back from breaks repeatedly. Nothing that this group would ever do, I might add. This group is like on time. You guys are amazing. But she'd been written up, and the next one was going to be final warning, and the one after that was termination. That had been made very clear to her. And so she's coming back from her break, and she knows she's right on the edge of being late. And as she's turning the corner, there's a family coming in the back door and frantic. And they said, where's John Smith? And she's like, I don't know. What happened? You know, where are they? He said, well, he had a heart attack. And they said they're going to the ER, but a family member called and said they might go to the cath lab or they might go to surgery. I don't know where he is. Help us. And she freezes for one moment going, do I help the person in front of me or do I stay out of trouble? And she tells me that she remembered this talk. And she said, I'm going to do this, and I pray to God this guy was right. Okay, she took care of the family. She comes back late, and she makes a beeline for the nurse manager. And she says, I just clocked in. I know I'm late. I ran into a family downstairs that was upset. And the nurse manager, thank God, reached out her hand and said, that's all I need to know. We expect you to take care of the family in front of you. And she tells me the story of him dropping her off for an x-ray and saying, when you're finished, they're going to wheel you out in this hallway and you're going to feel like the world has forgotten you. I have not. Okay, I have to go see one other patient, get them to their spot, and then I will come back and get you, I promise. But if you're concerned at all and you're wondering, there's the phone, here's my card. You can call me and I'll update you on where I am. Holy moly. Any of you been left in an x-ray staring at the ceiling with like half a washcloth on in a hallway? Yeah. Yeah. How do we help de-escalate vulnerability? So here's a little homework teaser. what does compassionate service look like to you? You talked about it a little bit in your groups. Keep drilling down on that to get down to how do I make this come alive? All right, I'm going to do a rapid tour through our history. You ready? This is cool, partly because we build on their foundation and they have a lot to tell us. But if I'm asking you to really embody this yourself, who embodied it the first time around? You said Emily Gamlin. Mother died when she was 4, father died when she was 14. She met a man named Jean Baptiste, married him, they had 3 boys. By the time she was 28, bless you, her mom had died, her dad had died, her husband died, her 3 children died. Now, I showed you a picture of my son Kelly. I also have 2 twins, Eli and Ben. If we added my wife Terry, my mom Chris, and my dad Mark, and all of them had died by the time I was 28, I would not be here. I would have crawled into a hole, okay? And she did for a little bit. And she found herself comforted by a Michelangelo painting called Our Mother of Sorrows, of Mary holding Jesus at the foot of the cross. And she asked herself, if I had such a horrible experience going through this, how can I make it better for others? Which is amazing. And she went on to set the foundation for our 33 hospitals. Okay? She died in 51. She was 51 years old. I'm 44 and thinking I'm off to a slow start. She really was incredible. Yeah, the 13th member of her group was Esther Parasal. She led the mission trip out of Montreal, where they had been based, comfortable Montreal, to the Pacific Northwest. And they didn't come here because the Space Needle was cool. I mean, this was mission territory. In fact, to get from Montreal, you had to go all the way around the United States. You couldn't make a direct shot. It was too difficult of terrain. Really, really amazing. She was ultimately recognized as the first architect of the Northwest in National Statuary Hall in Washington, D.C. Anybody recognize this website? So this is one of our spin-off websites for Human Resources. And it's the idea that, it's an intentional pun, that coming to work here is a call. It's a call. It's not just another job. We hope it will become something that you experience as a calling at the service of the sacred, okay? And connected to our mission. So I'm going to tell you one more story. My parents live in Cocoa Beach, Florida, which is walking distance to Cape Canaveral. They can watch all the launches. Very cool place to live. In 1967, in the height of the space race, a congressional delegation came down to do a surprise inspection of NASA. Okay, Crystal, can I borrow you for a second? Come on up here for a second. Crystal, how tall are you? 5'5". 5'5"? Okay. So leading that delegation was Strom Thurmond. Okay? And he was a congressman at the time. Bad idea. But Strom Thurmond is 6'6". Okay? And he walks in and he looks at this little housekeeper who is about 4'11" on a good day, and looks at her and says, "What's your job here?" Now this housekeeper is mopping the floors. Okay? She looks at the mop, looks at the bucket, like he is the dumbest person on the face of the earth. And she puts it aside, and she stands right before Strom Thurmond, and she crosses her arms, and she looks up at him and says, my job is to put a man on the moon. That's what we're here for. Okay? So your job, you might have been hired in Crystal Housekeeping, Jennifer RN, Christine Clinical Lab. You might be a brand new nurse resident. Your job is to reveal God's love in a way that is truly excellent. Okay? That's what we're about. Okay? So, here's a homework question for you. In light of our mission and values, what do you want others to experience in your presence? How do you want to be experienced as a person of providence? As you're walking in the door right now for the first time, what does it mean to be in a covenant relationship where you temporarily, not permanently, temporarily set aside your own needs to take care of somebody else. Now, I understand that at the end of the day, you got a beer in one hand and a remote control in the other, and you're watching the NBA Finals. I get that. It doesn't mean you never take care of yourself. It means that while you're here, you temporarily set aside your own needs to be fully present to someone else. There's my other 15 minutes.
Oh, divine providence, chariot of light, on this gathering, that it may become illumined, shed a ray of light, a ray of light, shed a ray of light. Oh, divine providence, shed a ray of light, shed a ray of light on this gathering, that it may become illumined, shed a ray of light, a ray of light, shed a ray of light, shed a